Ooh, hello there, my fellow miners and crafters. GoodTimesWithScar here, and welcome back to Scarland, a land where we take survival building to the extreme, and we're continuing on our treehouse station for the Scarland transportation system renovation. And as you can see, we've got our trunk all built up and ready to go, and we're starting to get the details down, and they're coming together. As you can see, we have our big branches outstretching across the landscape, and then dipping inside to the actual station. We're all ready for the infrastructure, getting all the redstone and all those details. And of course, we have our ceiling. We need to work out our lighting so we don't have all the torches. And then we'll either do it now or we'll do it on Twitch. We'll do the station and get that all set up and ready to go. So let's jump up here, and we're going to start by getting the leaves on the tree because it looks like a dead tree at this point. So we need to add some life to this thing. So as you can see, this is what we've got. We're going to try to take a couple shortcuts, and we're going to be using a bit of some oak saplings, and we're going to use some bone meal, of course, and we have some extra jungle wood, and then some leaves to try to create more of a canopy hangover effect. And yeah, so let's do it. Let's get it right into it. So when we're building trees and different details like this, so let's just scaffold up here a little bit. This was easier in the past. We were able to kind of get the look that we wanted a little bit easier, but some of these things are a little bit harder to obtain now. So we'll just try to kind of work through it a little bit. One thing we will encounter is that when we do grow an oak tree, we will be dealing with the oak wood. So we'll replace that with, of course, let me get that down there. Beautiful. The jungle saplings, or the jungle wood. There we go. And then we just kind of grow these up. And this is kind of like a cheat. This is kind of like cheating a little bit. You're able to get quite a few, leaf blocks for the price of a sapling. And that makes this just a little bit easier when it comes to getting down all of the blocks that you need. So this is kind of the basic way that I created the mother tree. So you just kind of get these down like that, and then you can back off just ever so slightly, and then grow up another one. Jump on down. Now you might be wondering, what about the jungle leaves, Scar? Well, jungle leaves are a little bit more costly in the leaf department. So what we're going to do is we're just going to place them on the side. So we'll take out some jungle leaves here, and we're just going to slowly just insert them here and there like that. So it gives it the impression that there's more jungle leaves than there is because the interior is going to be oak. So yeah, this is kind of the process, is to slowly fill in the tree like this. And I've been doing this for quite some time with trees, and it was much easier in the past because, of course, the bone meal was more, what was it? I think you could use it unlimitedly. Like if I go like this, let's see, let me just make a couple branches here real quick. So I kind of want to extend these branches out just ever so slightly, just to give this area just a little bit more height. And I want to replace, I don't want to go out too much farther. I think I'm going to go out like this. I'm going to go out like that. And then I think I'm going to fill in this last section like so. And then let me drop this out, grab that. Beautiful, wonderful, awesome, boom, da bam. And then fill this in. So before you could just click and it would grow the tree instantly. But then I forgot what it was, 1.7, I believe, maybe 1.6. They changed it so that you have to click it quite a few times. So it's a little more of a randomized deal. There we go. Looking good. Awesome. And I'm going to cut this off just ever so slightly. There we go. It'd probably be easier if I used an axe, right? There we go. So yeah, look at that. So we just slowly start filling in this area. And then on this back side, you can add a couple more trees here and there like so. And eventually we're going to have a pretty cool looking top of the tree. So there we go. Looking good. So let me continue to start filling in this branch, and we'll start working over there. All right. And welcome back. So we have our first set kind of up on that branch. We have the basic set of our trees kind of grown in there. Now we'll just kind of do what we did there right next to us at this little juncture right here of the branch. And then we'll do it over there and then fill in the center. And that's when we'll come in with our leaves that we have sheared. And then we'll add a lot more of the detail of the branches to there. So I think that'll work out really nice. And then I want this branch to be a little bit higher. So what I'm doing is just increasing the height here and there, just adding a couple extra blocks here and there, and then filling in like that. And I think this should give that just a little more height to distinguish it from the other branch over there. And then we'll grow this up. Now, one concern we may have here dealing with this is getting kind of small ones like this or too large of trees. And if you ever encounter something like that, you can always just replace the tree and put in something that works a little bit better for your needs. There we go. And then what I'm going to do over here is just grow in another tree right there. and then we'll cut that in, and that should fit. Yeah, there we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. What I'm going to do is probably fill in another tree right here. So yeah, it's kind of trial and error. One thing I did forget to bring is some shears so you don't lose leaves, because leaves are incredibly valuable. There we go. They're time consuming and they're difficult to obtain. You know, you got to use the iron and all that stuff. And eventually your whole iron pile is depleted once you realize you used it all on shears. And that just happens to me way too many times. There we go. Bring that to there, click, and bring that over to there. So then, of course, we're just going to start filling in this section over here. And there we go. We're just slowly but surely filling in each one of these sections. And yeah, I think we're actually getting some really good progress at this point. There we go, fill in there. And then I want to leave kind of a chunk of the tree without leaves. Let me jump over here real quick. So this section, I want to leave this somewhat blank just to give the tree definition, so it's not just one giant puffball on the top of the tree. So that I need that to look really nice. And then I want to fill in this a little bit more. And then once we get a little farther in, like I said, we'll add more leaves kind of hanging down. But this process is pretty easy. And like I said, it's kind of like a little cheat way, so you don't have to shear all of your leaves with shears. You know, you can kind of grow in the trees and stuff like that. And yeah, this is the design, or the way I've been doing big trees like this since 2011. So I think it works pretty darn good. And here's a cool little trick. What you can do is place down a block here. You might not want an actual kind of big old, you know, branch heading upwards. So what you can do is place down a tree like so and grow it up. There we go. Come back in here and then remove all the trees. So now it just becomes one with the rest of the branches. And then you can kind of fill in these kind of areas that you might have a blank area of the tree, but don't want to, you know, have a giant branch going straight up. See how we just kind of filled in that area by removing the branches and then just kind of hollowing it out ever so slightly. And there's a kind of cool little trick. It really helped make this area kind of come together. And I think that came out pretty cool. Now our last stage here of filling in the kind of the structural aspects of the tree is we're just going to fill in this area. So we're just going to put a couple little trees here and there, and then we'll fill in this, and then the interior will finally be full. Oh my friends, oh my. That's always the wild card. That is truly the wild card, that you may get one of the giant trees, one of the you know, the giant ones. Now that's always an issue. Sometimes it can be in your favor, but other times it might not be. But anyway, as you can see, then I removed the interior, so I want this area to be a little bit more open in this part. That's why I removed the trunks going through there like we did over here. And I think that'll look good. I'm kind of apprehensive to see what this looks like. So let's jump down here. And okay, all right, here we go. And we're going to reveal. Okay, it's not bad. It's not bad. It definitely needs a lot more detail branches. And then small branches, and I actually think that came out pretty good. I was kind of worried there for a second with that giant tree it grew up, but I like it. I think we've got a really good foundational start to the tree. Yeah, there we go, my friends. We need quite a bit more work back here, cleaning up this section, but yeah, now all we need to do is start adding those small detail branches and leaves, and then we'll wrap this up and time to work on the interior. All right, and welcome back, and look at the Scarland jungle out there, looking super fancy. But anyway, back to work here. We have our tree, and now we need to add the hangover leaves and all that good stuff. Now, one question I have for you, it's kind of obscured by the cloud at the moment, but this gigantic tree right here, it looks a little odd next to our tree that we're building, especially from this area. And my question for you is, should we take it out? Should that giant tree be taken out and maybe even just relocated a little bit? Let me know. Let me know if we should remove it, A, or if we should keep it, B. And I'm kind of on the fence either way, so definitely let me know what we should do on that, because I'm super conflicted. All right, so this is pretty darn simple, my friends. All we do here is just trying to get some of these branches to kind of hang down and kind of cover up a little bit more of the branches, and it'll give it a much nicer feel. Then on the very outside of it, once we feel like we've gotten a really good kind of stance on our leaves kind of hanging over, that's when we'll add some of the jungle leaves, because like we said, jungle leaves are a little bit more expensive in the Minecraft world, at least for me anyway. Is that for you too? I've always found that the jungle, you know, they don't drop as many saplings, and their trees, especially the smaller ones, aren't as bushy as, you know, say some of the other trees. All right, looking good, looking good. One of the most useful leaves, and I really haven't used it very much lately for decorations and things of that nature, but is the birch leaves. The birch leaves are super useful in the way because they don't change color depending on the biome. They maintain that kind of, what is that? Kind of a dusty green, if you will. They maintain that color pretty well throughout. If you want to add more leaves to the top and things of that nature, what you can do to make this super duper simple is just dig down a little bit. So dig down just ever so slightly, go in like that, put down a tree like here, there we go, and then grab out yourselves a little bit of bone meal, and then just click away until you get something. Don't get trapped, there we go. And then you can add another one right here, just to give the tree just a little bit more on the top and just fill in all those extra little cracks and things. There we go. And this is just like we talked about before, super easy. You can really give the tree some nice extra bits of height there. And that's the tree up there. That's the one we were trying to decide if we want to take out or not. Like I said, I'm kind of on the fence on this one. All right, and let's get back to work. And like I said, at this point, you can start to kind of stick in some of these guys here and there, really start to give the tree a little bit more unique leaves, and just gives it a little bit more dimensionality, having a couple different patterns of leaves. There we go. Let's come all the way down. Oh, I didn't want to go all that way. But as you can see through the scaffolding, don't you just love scaffolding? You can see the leaves, how they're starting to hang over the sides, and I think that really looks good. So let's continue to do this and get these leaves all hung over. And welcome back, and I think we've got our branches in a good configuration. So now let's clear the scaffolding away. And there goes the scaffolding, looking super fancy. We now have our tree looking very magnificent with all the leaves and the big old trunk and all sorts of other cool little details. Now there's some other areas I would like to work on here and there, but I think for the most part, we've got this thing pretty well set up. Now, if you have any suggestions on anything better to make it look cool, definitely let me know, and let's head into the interior of the tree and start working on our station. So we're gonna kind of go off some of the basic designs that we've done previous. So we're gonna connect right here. So I brought down the track going all along here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring that to about there, like so. All right, and then we're gonna do a standard rail, and we're gonna cut it into where the hopper is gonna go that will kind of keep it as an infinite loop of our station. And then bring these pieces up to about there. So we're gonna bring about 3 blocks there, and then we're gonna cut out this block. And as you can see, this is gonna be where the pressure plate will lie. And yeah, I think we're getting the Scarland transportation system kind of back up to where it once was. It used to be kind of the showpiece of like the whole world. Oops, hey, that's wrong. There we go. We'll clear that out of there, put that right there. Wonderful. And then we're gonna jump back here and replace that with, of course, our sticky piston. So put our sticky piston there, and now we're pros at this. We can do this like the back of our hand. Now just watch, I'm gonna mess it all up. Ah, wonderful. And then we'll put that right there, put a button there. Beautiful. Now we're going to head down into the interior pit. So let's head down here and we'll clear away some of this extra stuff. There we go. And like I was saying, it's nice to have the Scarland transportation system starting to emerge as something that we can be proud of once again. It used to be, kind of cool back in 2011, but then it became vastly outdated. So it's really nice to kind of use some new materials and get it up to speed and all that good stuff once again. And then there we go, bring that across there, and we'll place a little torch on top, and boom, there we go, looking good. Awesome, wonderful. Now what I would like to do is, let's find a way out of here. How do we get out of here? We're trapped in here. Let me grab out a little scaffolding and get ourselves out of here. All right, so next thing we need to do is make sure this is in line with our build here. So we're gonna cut this block out, and then let me take down, let's see, we're gonna need this, and we're gonna need, oh, not you, we're gonna need you. All right, then we're gonna bring this all the way up to here. Gonna put our sand like so. Take our cactus, which probably won't go in here because we need to remove these blocks along this zone. There we go. And then we'll replace those, of course. We'll get those all back into their spots down there. And we'll sneak on over here once again. And we'll do one on this side over here. There we go, looking good. So now we need to cut this block out. We're just gonna put this here temporarily for now. There we go. And then we'll just put an additional rail on there for now. Wonderful. So yeah, there we go. We got that pretty well set up. Looking good, looking good. Now the part that's always a little confusing, or at least I always tend to goof it up, but we'll try to do our best here, is trying to get this redstone connected back here is always an issue. If I can get in a good orientation, I think we can probably do this pretty easily. There we go. And then as you can see, that's kind of our target for our button. So our button, of course, changes the direction of the rail. So we need to create just a little back piece right here. So yeah, let me work on this for a second. Let me kind of clear out some of this logs and I'll be right back. And there we go. So I got that kind of arranged there. We had to make a couple modifications to the outside log, but nothing too serious. Stuff we can fix up later once we go out, and we can put some logs to kind of cover up some of the unsightly areas. So as you can see, we placed down a redstone circuit there, and then we've done 2 repeaters here and a repeater there. And I'm just going to cut in here like that, and continuing this in a pattern like we've done before on all the other stations. And of course, this creates the ability to hit the button, the track will switch to the other direction, and then give us just enough time to clear it before it returns to its original spot. So super fancy and very nice. All right, and this needs to go right about there. Looking good, looking good. And we'll cut that piece along there. And let's see, let's do one more section. Let's do one more section across here, and then that should be just enough. There we go. And let's see. I always seem to goof this part up, but I think this is correct. There we go, looking good. And then we'll bring this all the way over to here. And then I need to decide where my chest is actually going to go. So let's actually scaffold up here. There we go. We'll clear that out for now. We'll grab this and we'll grab that. Wonderful. And then we'll go up here. So of course, we're going to do our switch right here. So I'm going to bring that to right here. That's right. We'll put that right to there. Beautiful. And we'll bring that all the way down. Looking good, looking good. Very exciting that this is all coming together. And then let's grab out our redstone once again. And then let's bring this down into a nice little fashion like that. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut that out. We'll replace that eventually so it's more streamlined. There we go. Bring that up to the side. And then this should, let's see, cut that out. There it goes. And we should connect it right there. Wonderful. And I'm going to put a repeater right here. There we go. And that should all work. So let me head back up if I can find a way out of here, and we'll give this thing a test. All right, and our last touch here is putting the hoppers onto our dispenser. So I'll put those along there and make sure we're on the right plane. There we go, beautiful. And we're gonna bring that all the way across to there. And yeah, there we go. I think we are set up and ready to go. And I'm trying to figure out an easy way of getting out of here. For Twitch streams this coming week, we are definitely going to be adding a nice fancy door right here. We might do something with pistons to make that part look nice and fancy. And I think that'll look really cool because we are nearly complete here. Put the final touches down. We'll put our rail right there, and beautiful. We have our system all set up, of course. So when we come down here, and if we don't want to go into the station, we can hit the chest and it will go that away. But if we do want to come in, we'll come in here and get our minecart dispensed. And then once we have our fancy entrance, we can enter the station, walk over here, stand right here, click the button depending on which direction we want to go, and release it, and away we go. And thank you so much for watching today as we built our super awesome tree station. And of course, we've got a creeper alert ahead. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching today. Oh my gosh, goodbye, Bob. Have a great time. We'll see you later. Goodbye. But anyway, my friends, like I said, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the treehouse design and of course the station. And until next time, we'll see you later. Anymore, unfortunately. So building these kind of trees is a little bit more difficult, but we got this. We got this. This is going to be easy. It's going to be easy. There we go.